Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for our webinar today, Understand Executive Function Milestones, Challenges, and Implement Effective Strategies at Home for children in the primary grades KG-2 grade, second grade. I am Amal Said, a liaison at the Family Resource Center. I would like to welcome and introduce our presenters today. We have with us today Ashley Lotfabadi and Wanda Taylor, Claire Geinzer and Suan, behavior intervention teachers from FCPS Behavior Intervention Services. Behavior Intervention Services provides behavioral intervention and support for students receiving general education and or special education in grades pre-K through 12. Behavior intervention teachers are assigned to each pyramid and work closely to collaborate with the administrators and staff to develop systematic plans for behaviors. We are so excited to have all of you with us today. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Mal. My name is Ashley Lotfabadi. I'm a behavior intervention teacher that supports part of the Oakton Pyramid, and we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves.
Hi, my name is Wanda Taylor. I'm also a behavior intervention teacher, and I support the West Potomac Pyramid in Region 3.
Hi, I'm Claire Geinzer. I am also a behavior intervention teacher, and I support Region 1, the Madison Pyramid.
Morning, I'm Sue On, and I support the Langley Pyramid as well as Crossfield, Navy, and Hutchison.
Well, welcome everyone. We wanted to introduce you to our first session in this series. The series is broken down by age groups, so targeting strategies and developmental milestones for each of these groups. And today we're going to focus on the primary grades of kindergarten through second grade. And just so you have your information listed below our future dates for the webinars for the rest of our series. And today we're diving into the concept of executive function, which plays a critical role in a child's development and learning. Our agenda will cover what executive function is, how it impacts behavior and specific skills like working memory, metacognition, goal-directed persistence, goal-directed attention and focus, and cognitive flexibility. We'll also touch on strategies to support children, including modifying the environment, teaching skills directly, and providing motivation and reinforcement. And by the end, you're going to leave with actionable steps to help foster the executive function skills in your child. So let's go ahead and get started. Executive function skills are essential for managing all the information, tasks, and decisions we face every day. For children, these skills are still developing, and it's normal for them to face challenges in one or more areas, like paying attention, staying organized, or managing their emotions. These skills are crucial, but not just for academic success, also for building good behavior habits and healthy relationships. Today, we'll talk about how to recognize where your child might struggle and explore strategies to help them grow in these areas. So, like the video said, our brains don't fully develop until our late 20s, even our 30s. So meaning as a parent, it's our role to be their support as they develop these skills. For example, you might need to set up a system for how your child leaves for school with all the materials they need for the day. And even when our brain is fully developed, that doesn't mean our brain isn't flexible. So executive function strategies are skills we can all learn, no matter our age or our abilities. And everyone is in a different place with our own executive function skills and underdeveloped areas. You may have strengths in one area and weaknesses in the other. That doesn't mean you can't learn and implement these strategies right along with your child. Making sure that we really focus on independence with these skills is developed over time, and that happens through hard work and patience. Children's behavior often reflects their executive function strengths and their challenges. For example, a child who struggles to follow directions might have that weak working memory. A child who resists transitions may need help with cognitive flexibility. These behaviors aren't just that defiance or inattentiveness, they're often a sign of underdeveloped skills. So by understanding the executive function skills underlying behavior, we could approach challenges with empathy and then with strategies that work. And Wanda's going to break down the key components of executive function and their role in shaping behavior.
All right, thank you, Ashley. So executive function skills are all connected, and they work together to support a child's ability to be successful in learning, with their learning, their behavior, and their relationships. At the center of executive function is self-control, which serves as the foundation that develops when other skills are built. So self-control allows children to regulate their emotions, their behaviors, impulses, helping them to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. So surrounding executive self-control are the 5 key executive functions that contribute to this development. And they are cognitive flexibility, which helps children adapt to changes or new information; goal-directed attention, which allows children to stay focused on tasks even if they are distracted; goal-directed persistence allows children to push through challenges and complete tasks over time; and metacognition is the ability to think about their own thinking and help them evaluate and adjust their strategies. The last one is working memory, and that's what allows children to hold information in their minds and access it or use it later when needed. So by supporting all these skills, we're helping our children build strong self-control and independence over time. So self-control, as we know, is one of the most visible executive function skills. And it's often the one that we kind of focus in on the most when we're supporting children. However, what's important to understand that self-control is not developed in isolation, kind of like as the video you saw in the video. It's a result of other executive functioning skills working together. So before children can demonstrate age-appropriate self-control, they need foundational skills. By strengthening those foundational skills first, we set children up to demonstrate better self-control in their everyday lives. So let's talk a little about working memory. So working memory is the ability to hold information in their minds and access it when needed. So for younger children, this might look like remembering instructions, participating in conversations, or recalling details to answer a question. Working memory is essential for a child in following multiple step directions, staying engaged, in learning activities. When children struggle with working memory, you might notice they forget what was just said, or they lose track of tasks. So we'll discuss ways to support and build this skill to help your child, set your child up for success. So some strategies for working memory. One strategy you might use could be a visual cue, like the one you see on the screen, or a physical cue. And I do this all the time, every day. I place something, I don't want to forget anything, so I'll place it by the front door. But for your child, it could be placing their backpack by the door to remind them to grab their backpack before they go off to school. You might need to check for understanding of what was just said to make sure they understand. So asking those questions. And then another strategy to use for improving working memory is the use of songs or rhythms. For example, especially since this is K-2, especially K, so as a kindergarten teacher. So for instance, you might have heard your child coming home singing the days of the week to the Addams Family theme song, or the months of the year to the tune of the Macarena. These songs can help your child remember new concepts they're learning in school. Or you might be able to come up with your own song for a routine that you can use at home, and you want them to remember what they need to do. Another strategy could be switching up roles. So you let the child be the one, pretend to be the teacher, and then have them teach you or their siblings a newly learned concept. And another thing is checklists. I know you saw a little snippet in the video. Checklists are a really great tool to help children remember what's needed to be done for that day. All right. Next up is metacognition. So metacognition is just simply thinking about thinking. It allows children to reflect on their thoughts and on their emotion. This skill helps children with emotional regulation and self-awareness. So, for example, when a child recognizes that they are frustrated, they can think about what to do next. So developing metacognition skills support problem solving, it supports emotional intelligence and decision making. So let's look at some strategies for metacognition. When we are looking at how to support metacognition at home, we might consider talking about our thinking. When reading, you might ask explicit questions about what your child is wondering or predicting about the story, or you might even model your own problem-solving skills out loud. And then anytime you see your child is reflecting on their actions or a situation that occur, you're going to want to celebrate and like acknowledge that and name and acknowledge what they're doing. So great job reflecting on the last time you forgot your library book and how you felt. So let's remember to pack it for tomorrow. Some children may need visual reminders throughout their environment to stop and take a minute to think. Checklists, again, can also help us visually as we are learning the skill. So it could be the checklist on the slide that you're seeing right now could be is a great example because it has what will I do, how will I do it, and am I done? So checklist is a really good strategy in supporting metacognition. All right. Next up is goal-directed persistence. Goal-directed persistence is the ability to keep working towards a goal when challenges arise. For young learners, that could just be as simple as finishing a puzzle, or completing a project, or practicing a new skill like tying your shoe. It involves perseverance, focus, and motivation to stay on track. If this skill is underdeveloped, you may notice kids give up easily or become distracted. So one challenge let's look at some strategies for goal-directed persistence. One strategy that families often face is a messy bedroom or a messy playroom and trying to get your child to clean up or tidy up. It can be very overwhelming to take on this challenge and persevere through such a large task. It's a lot to do when you just say, clean up your room, right? What does that look like? What am I supposed to be doing? So that's a great opportunity to practice some strategies around goal-directed persistence. So you can break the task down into chunks. So let's pick up all the books first, and then we'll pick up all the balls. And then you might need to coach them through doing more difficult steps, like if they're having struggling with making up their bed or anything like that. This might look like even supporting your child when they're like putting their clothes away and matching their socks up and rolling their socks up. To motivate and make it fun, you might put on some of your child's favorite fast-paced dance songs and listen to while you work. So you're cleaning up or you're doing whatever task you're doing and got the music on. So we got this much time to get it done, let's try to get it done within this song. Then think about how to make the task relevant to them. They might not care whether their room or playroom is clean, but they might be motivated if they know that there's something tied to it, like maybe a particular toy or time to spend outside, or maybe having access to some screen time. So they just you might have to motivate them to keep them going. Cleaning your own room takes on new meaning when you become a part of the process. It gives you the opportunity to see how much support your child might need and when they can be independent. And as soon as you see them being successful and continuing independence on persisting through a difficult task, then you may start to fade. All right. So next up is goal-directed attention and focus. And this allows us to stay focused on tasks, even if there are distractions in the environment, which is, could be very challenging. For example, when working on homework and a sibling is close by playing with toys, It might be important to give your child some feedback verbally or visually to, hey, come on, remain on this task and stay on task and get your homework done, even though there's distraction, could be potentially distracted. You just want to keep them motivated to keep working on the task. So some strategies for goal-directed attention and focus. So the ability to sustain their concentration in order to think, listen, or watch with interest can be supported through the use of visuals. And that's whether you have a timer, you see it's like a little timer in the picture, a sticky note, or you can use a first then. So these visuals, they provide your child with concrete representations of the task so they can actually see what they need to do and the time frames and also what other activities are coming up after that. And having a space free of distractions and minimize noise might allow children to maximize their focus and productivity. So those are some strategies for that. Next up is cognitive flexibility and shift. Cognitive flexibility is the ability to adapt when plans or routines change. And for children, this might mean accepting changes in a schedule or recovering quickly from if they've been disappointed, or if you have to give them a redirection, so taking a redirection from an adult. When the skill is undeveloped, children will struggle with transitions, or they might become easily upset when things don't go as expected. So helping your child build these skills will reduce frustration and make transitions smoother. So some strategies for cognitive flexibility shift. It's important to keep a relatively consistent and predictive routine and environment for your child, but also prepare for upcoming changes. So you could consider role playing and practicing flexibility. As you're teaching your child to be flexible, you want to make sure that you're modeling your own flexibility. So it's important for your child to be provided with a clear example of how they could be flexible. And this could include like you're going to be saying out loud what you're thinking and doing and making sure that you're explaining the advantages for you get for being flexible. So example I like to use is that they'll say you're at breakfast and you're modeling being flexible at breakfast, and you as the caregiver says, oh, there's no milk for my cereal this morning. I really wanted cereal. Oh man, I guess I got to come up with another plan. And I guess I need to be kind of flexible because and just make some toast instead of being angry or mad, or being hungry or mad. And later today, I'll just go to the store and buy some milk, and then I can have some cereal tomorrow. So I'm just trying to be flexible in my thinking and just do something else. So as you model your child, hearing you model how to regulate your emotions will definitely help and benefit them. So they can see that when things don't go their way, you still can stay calm. And next up is Claire, and she's going to talk about some milestones.
Some kindergarten, first and second grade milestones. Understanding and recognizing executive functioning milestones you see for your child can help you understand their developmental progress. It is important to remember that there is a range in how these skills develop. Some of those weighting skills may come while attention and focus do not. It is not a straight path and it depends on the individual. So for example, children who independently follow simple directions might struggle in another, like waiting for adult attention or completing homework independently. These skills do not develop all at once, and some children may show strengths in certain areas while having a weakness in others. It is also important to acknowledge that gaps in executive functioning can sometimes lead to frustration for both you and your child. It can be difficult to see strengths in another area and then think about how someone is very behind in other skills. As parents, reflecting on our own executive functioning strengths and weaknesses can help us to understand how our relative strengths might make our child's challenges feel more noticeable. So going along with these milestones, we've also linked underdeveloped skills to look out for. Children with executive function challenges may show specific signs, such as struggling to follow routines, managing emotions, or adapting to changes. It is important to remember that these behaviors are not necessarily intentional. They often point to skills that might need more practice or support. With the increasing use of technology, children are spending more time on devices, which can make these executive function difficulties even more challenging. Technology has been seen to create distractions, disrupt routines, and even delay the development of essential skills like attention and self-regulation. As parents, it is important to ask, is the skill truly an underdeveloped skill, or is it an opportunity to reflect on what experiences and practice you and your child had with these skills? You should only consider a skill a dysfunction or a deficit if they have been taught and practiced over time and your child is still struggling. When we approach these challenges with empathy, we can see them as opportunities to teach and guide our children rather than simply viewing them as problems to correct. So now that we've identified some of the common signs of executive function challenges, we're going to shift our focus to practical ways we can support our children. So understanding the challenges is the first step, and the next step is figuring out how we can help them develop these essential skills. This is where strategies like modifying the environment, teaching skills directly, using motivation and reinforcement, and then gradually fading supports as they come in. Each of these approaches provides different ways to empower your child, reduce frustration, and help them succeed. So in the next few slides, we're going to dive deeper into each of these strategies to give you practical tools for supporting your child's growth in executive functioning at home. So we've highlighted the 3 things that we can change, and the first one we're going to talk about is the environment in which your child spends their time in. This can be after-school programs, their bedroom, workspace, or playroom. One of the best ways to help your child with executive function skills is to change their environment to make things easier for them. There are 3 main ways to do this first. So you can change the physical or social environment, like reducing distractions or adjusting who they work with. Second, you can change the nature of the task, like breaking it down into smaller steps or making it more fun by including toys or activities your child enjoys. Lastly, you can change the way you interact with your child, like using reminders or practicing situations with them ahead of time. These changes can help make a big difference in helping your child stay focused and successful. We'll talk about each of these ideas in more detail next. So the first one that we're going to talk about is changing the physical and social environment. That is a powerful strategy for supporting your child's executive function development. So you can help by making clearly defined workspaces, as well as reducing distractions like turning off the TV or putting away unnecessary items that are within their view. This can help children to stay on task and process information better. In addition, providing clear storage boxes for school materials or a simple schedule can help your children stay organized. The second one that we're going to highlight for environment is changing the nature of the task, and that can help make it more manageable for your child, especially if they struggle with staying focused or completing tasks. So one of the ways you can do this is by making the task shorter. You can also break it down into smaller, more achievable steps. In addition, building in frequent breaks allows your child to rest and reset, which can improve their focus when they return to a task. We do this a lot in the school building. Another strategy is to give your child something to look forward to once the task is completed, like a reward or a fun activity. Making the steps more direct and creating a clear schedule helps your child know exactly what to do next, reducing confusion. Finally, building in choices such as letting your child pick which part of the task to start with or how they want to complete it can make the task feel even more appealing and empower them to take ownership. And then lastly, changing the way you interact with your child can make a huge difference in supporting their executive function development. Before a situation arises, it is important to practice with your child what will happen so that they can prepare to know what to expect and can mentally prepare for future occurrences. Using verbal reminders throughout the task can help them keep on track and help them stay focused. For example, telling them next we are going to clean up, or after this we can have a snack, gives them clear guidance. Visual supports like a visual schedule or pictures of steps can help them understand and follow through with tasks independently.
So there are two main ways to teach executive function skills to your children. So naturally and informally throughout your day, or a more targeted and explicit or direct approach. Now, both methods are valuable and definitely work together to support your child's development. Now, teaching informally happens during the day, those everyday moments, like practicing patience when waiting in line or encouraging this problem solving during play. A targeted approach focuses on teaching specific skills step by step, such as helping your child learn how to follow a routine or manage their time. In the next slides, we'll look a little closer at each of these approaches and explore how you can use them to build your child's executive function skills at home. So we want to talk intentionally with your child. It is one of the most powerful ways to teach executive function skills. So one key strategy is modeling that self-talk, which means saying your words out loud as you go through your own thought process. So for example, you might say, okay, first, I'm going to make a list of what I need to do. Then I'm going to check them off as I finish. This helps your child see how you organize your thoughts and plans and how you stay focused. It can also show your children that it's okay to pause and reflect and adjust as your plans change. Another important technique is to ask questions rather than giving instructions. So for example, instead of saying, put your shoes on, you could ask, what do we need to do before we leave? This encourages your child to think about next steps and also take ownership of their actions. Encourage your child to check in with themselves by asking questions like, what's my plan? Or how am I doing so far? Practicing situations together, like what to say when raising hands in class, it helps them feel prepared and confident. So together, these strategies teach children how to think through their actions and then make better decisions on their own. For those that are struggling with their own underdeveloped executive function skills, this may be a good time for you to be intentional about what strategies you're choosing, which strategy you're choosing to use, and then practice in that moment. Saying the steps and actions out loud may help both you and your child. We can support executive function development at home through games and activities, because who doesn't love games and activities? And these are fun activities that are age appropriate, that can fit into everyday life. So these activities are grouped into these broad categories to give you plenty of options. And some of these activities include materials that you can pick up at the store, and others do not require any materials at all. So in the middle of your copy of the presentation, there's a hyperlink that's underlined when viewed on the computer, and this will link you to the directions on how to play the games that we are talking about today, as well as Amazon links for those specific games that you can purchase. The key is to keep it fun and play alongside your child and modeling these skills as you go. Board games are an excellent way for teaching skills like turn taking, planning, and flexible thinking. And some great options are Candyland, for those younger kids who learn sequencing, or games like Sorry to practice patience and strategy, and my personal favorite, Guess Who, to encourage deductive reasoning. Amazing cooperative board games like Outfox teach kids how to work together to solve a problem.
And Sue, I just have to interject here. Outfoxed is a family favorite. I have a kindergartner who is a big board game and any kind of game fiend. And Outfox is one of our favorites. It's great because like Sue said, it's cooperative. So we're all working towards the same goal. And it really is great at some of that deductive reasoning.
Thank you. There's also memory games, and I think we all know some of these already. And they're great for strengthening working memory. You can use store-bought matching games like memory, or create your own deck using deck of cards or printed pictures. And you can even make personalized pictures of your families or things that they like. It's to get that motivation to play. And for those non-material options, you can play I'm Going on a Picnic. And this is a game where everyone takes a turn adding items to the list and then remembering what was already said. Or matching games that can build attention and that cognitive flexibility. You can use things like Uno for color and number matching, or even create more of that DIY matching games using household items like finding pairs of socks. Another fun matching option is sorting toys or items by categories, such as sorting Legos by color and size. Spot It is a quick game that hones visual attention, which I play with my family, adults. So it is a game that grows with them. Another favorite is Red Light, Green Light, where kids practice stopping and starting based on cues. A quieter option is Freeze Dance, where kids have to freeze when the music stops. Copying games like Simon Says or Follow the Leader are wonderful for teaching those impulse control and listening skills. You can make this as silly or as simple as you like. And the best part is that you don't really need to buy anything, or you don't need anything at all. Logic games encourage that problem solving and planning. You can try Rush Hour Junior, which is a puzzle game where children move cars to unlock a path. For those non-material options, you can make up riddles for your child to solve. I Spy books or any other the search and find books are great for visual attention and perseverance. They keep kids engaged while they work on finding those specific items in a busy scene. These are especially helpful for building focus, but more in a fun way. Puzzles teach children about spatial reasoning, perseverance, and planning. And for this age group specifically, starting with puzzles that have larger pieces, and then you can work up to more of those complex ones as they grow. You can also do simple word puzzles like crossword or word searches. These are all just great for focus and problem solving. And finally, we have those movement-based games with self-regulation and focus while also burning off that energy. I'm sure you love that. And playing Duck, Duck, Goose is a way to practice waiting and then also responding quickly. Or also Mother May I to build that listening and attention skills. Even a quick game of tag can be beneficial. Here's a list of top 20 routines children struggle with the most. Just kind of read through it, identify one routine you believe your child could benefit from learning as we go through the next steps on how to teach routines through direct intervention in the next slide. So directly teaching your child's executive function skills, we start by identifying the specific behavior or a skill that needs attention. So, for example, if your child struggles with getting ready in the morning independently, the first step is to pinpoint exactly where they're getting stuck, whether it's figuring out how to get started or is it staying focused. Then next, we set a clear and realistic goal, like I can get all the things I need for school by myself. Then you want to break that down into goals, into manageable steps, such as brush teeth, put clothes on, and get backpack. Turn these steps into a checklist to help your child stay organized and focused. At first, you'll have to supervise them closely and then give these gentle reminders and then also offer support as they follow the steps. Over time, gradually reduce the supervision, allowing them to become more independent, while also providing that encouragement and feedback. As you identify the underdeveloped skills and then set goals, this may be a good time to include your classroom teacher or your case manager if your child has an IEP and share what you're working at home with the child. When developing strategies to support your child's executive function, it's important to consider their age and stage of development. Younger children may need tasks broken down into shorter and fewer steps, and they may need more time with pictures and more supervision and support from you as a caregiver for a longer period of time. And to help your child practice waiting, you can build into it in those everyday routines, like waiting a few minutes before snack time, or taking turns during games, or setting a timer before starting a fun activity. These small moments of practice can really help your child build self-control and resilience over time. And by creating opportunities to wait, you're giving your child the tools to manage their emotions and stay focused in those challenging situations. Technology. Technology can be both helpful, but in its tool, but also it can be a challenge when it comes to developing those executive function skills in children. On a positive side, technology can provide engaging and interactive ways for children to practice skills like organization or time management, and even the self-regulation through educational apps and games. However, excessive screen time can also have a negative impact, leading to distractions and difficulty with focus and disruptions in routine. So for caregivers, modeling your own healthy use of technology is key to teaching children how to use technology in a more balanced way. You may also set expectations as a family, such as no tablets at dinner. And by setting these clear boundaries around screen time and demonstrating mindful phone usage, parents can also reinforce healthy use. These healthy tech boundaries not only help children develop better habits, but can also support teachers who may be struggling with students' use of technology in the classroom. So ensuring that your child can focus and engage effectively in both home and school environments. Motivation is essential in helping children develop and apply their executive function skills, especially when it comes to following rules and completing tasks. When children are motivated, they're more likely to use executive function skills they've already learned, whether it's following directions, waiting, staying organized, or managing their emotions. Positive reinforcement, such as praise or rewards, not only boosts their confidence, but also encourages that persistence and effort. Punishment does not help with skill development. It actually often discourages effort and makes children afraid to take risks or try new things. So instead, focus on celebrating progress and making tasks enjoyable, whether through fun activities or acknowledging their hard work at the end. A formal system can be a great tool, but remember, it's the positive feedback and encouragement that really keeps children see the value of their efforts and motivate them to keep going. Knowing when to start fading supports is key in helping your child become more independent with routines and these executive function skills. You can begin to fade supports when your child consistently completes a task or routine with little to no reminders. If your child can explain the steps of the routine or skill in their own words, that's a strong indicator that they've internalized it. So additionally, when they can recover from mistakes or interruptions on their own, they're ready for less guidance. And finally, when your prompts or cues are no longer necessary and these routines feel like a natural part of their behavior, it's time to step back. And these moments show that they've gained the skills and self-reliance needed to handle these tasks on their own.
And by personal experience, this can be hard. I have a hard time reminding my daughter of all the steps in that and when she's unpacking and, reflecting on this. It's probably, I know something she can do independently. So it's also recognizing in yourself, taking that moment to see how are they actually doing and not just kind of doing what you always do. Really assess what's going on.
Absolutely. And so like how to fade and supports and making sure that it's done gradually and not over supporting so that it's hard. It takes nuance and discernment to how and when to do all that. So fading support is obvious an important step, right, in helping your child build that independence with routines and other executive function skills. And the goal is to gradually remove the support that you put in place as they grow more confident and capable. You can start by reducing how often these reminders or visuals, allowing them to rely more on their own memory and problem-solving skills. And encourage their self-monitoring by asking questions like, what do you think comes next? Instead of providing the answer. And simplify any tools, like if you were using checklist, as they become more comfortable with the task and as they become more successful, provide them with positive reinforcement to boost their confidence and motivation. And then over time, you can slowly take the task more challenging, make the task more challenging by helping them to continue to feel, to grow and feel more, confident without feeling overwhelmed.
As we wrap up this presentation, I want to ground us in the idea that these executive function skills are the foundation for so many aspects of our child's success. These skills help children manage their emotions, stay focused, and adapt to challenges, whether at home, in school, or in social situations. And by supporting these skills now, we're setting children up for long-term success. And as we discussed earlier, self-control is the outcome of several executive function skills working together. And the good news is that there are so many ways that parents can build these skills at home. Simple games, structured routines, and intentional teaching moments are incredibly effective. The key is to make it engaging and keeping it consistent. As parents, modeling executive function skills is one of the most powerful ways to teach them. Think out loud. Show your child how to manage these challenges and break skills down into smaller steps so they're easier to learn. Over time, gradually reduce your support so children can take more responsibility. And remember that building executive function takes time and practice. It's a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. So we're going to be patient with our children and with yourself as you work through to develop these skills. We're going to celebrate small successes along the way because those small successes really add up to big progress. I also want to take the time to acknowledge how challenging it can be to support your child with these executive function development. Parenting is not easy, and these skills take time, patience, and consistency to build, not just for your child, but also for you too. And the good news is that the brain is flexible. So it means it's never too late for your child to learn and strengthen these skills. And growth is always possible with intentional effort and small, meaningful changes. So take a moment to think about 1 or 2 simple strategies from today that you can start using right away, whether it's adding a visual schedule, practicing self-talk, or creating opportunities for reading. And remember, our goal isn't perfection, but progress. Every small step you take to support your child builds their confidence, their independence, and their resilience. You're doing important work, and those small changes can make a big difference over time. If you're thinking about where to get started, let's look again at the list Sue shared of the routines that children struggle with most. These everyday tasks like getting dressed, managing time for homework, or following through the bedtime routines often require those strong executive function skills that our children are still developing. Understanding these struggles can guide us in offering the right support and create more effective strategy at home. So moving forward, I encourage you to identify which routine you may want to target, and which one your child finds most challenging, and work together to break it down into manageable steps. By providing structure, clear expectations, and plenty of practice, you can help your child improve these skills over time. I also would clarify, pick one. I know for me, I would want to be like, and this. We want to focus on one at a time and really work on your own skill while you're doing it, and then slowly begin to target other ones, because this is not meant to be a race. This is meant to be really intentional and something that you can just add into your everyday, not something that's going to take over your whole household. If you want to continue your learning, these books, Mind in the Making, Smart But Scattered, and Solving Executive Function Challenges, which is the one they mentioned in the video earlier, are great resources for parents who want to help their child build these important skills. So Mind in the Making gives simple, everyday ideas to help children improve skills like paying attention, controlling their emotions, and solving problems. Smart But Scattered explains how to recognize when children struggle with organization, managing time, or staying calm, and offers easy ways to help them. This book is available for multiple age groups, including adults, teens, and children. So I think to the question that was that came up into the Q&A, any suggestions for parents who have ADD or ADHD, if you're struggling with these skills yourself, Smart But Scattered is a great resource. There is an adult version, as well as there's plenty of workbooks that can help you through your learning and skill building. My husband has ADHD, and he knows that one of his underdeveloped skills is working memory. It's just not a skill he has. So he always carries around like an itty bitty notebook that fits in his back pocket that he says is his working memory. And so he just writes down everything that he needs to. And so he's learning skills as he's older. What are those underdeveloped skills, and what can I do to support myself? So through some of this workbook, some of these books, and through some of the learning that you're doing with your own child, you may be able to reflect on strategies that would work for you as well. Finally, that Solving Executive Function Challenges shows parents how to identify problems with executive function, and it provides step-by-step solutions. So before we get into the Q&A section, I want to go ahead and remind you that this webinar was the first in our series, sharing resources and strategies for the different age groups. So if you have older children, or maybe you support children in other age groups, it may be helpful to attend one of the future sessions, or you can request a recording to be viewed later. So I just wanted to share those dates and times, and I know the Family Resource Center will share kind of the links to register for those. We want to thank you for joining us today, and we are happy to have any questions as we kind of wrap up for the day.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation and all the valuable information and strategies that you have shared with our families today. Please post your questions in the Q&A feature. We'll be happy to answer those questions till 11:30. One of the questions that we already have is asking about any suggestions for parents who have ADD.
Absolutely. So like I kind of mentioned before, all of the strategies and skills that we talked about are strategies and skills for everyone. It is how executive function skills are developed. So whether you are going to look at maybe finding, planning time to think out loud for yourself, or practice some of those skills. Like Sue said, playing spot is something she does as an adult with her family members. What are those things? As well as thinking about that really direct approach that Sue shared, that is also the same way that you're going to learn those skills. So I would really recommend taking a look at the presentation in the view of your own supports, thinking about, like I said, with my husband and his own working memory that he keeps in the back of his pocket. If you know what your underdeveloped skills are, that's where I think you can really figure out which accommodations and which ways to support. I don't know if anyone else wanted to chime in.
Yeah, I think just kind of piggybacking what you're saying, Ashley, For parents or adults who have ADD, I would suggest mirroring or paralleling your child's routines and structure with yours. So as you're creating these checklists or very concrete step-by-step of what you are supporting your child to do, have a mirrored for yourself as well. As a child is doing this, mommy will do this. And so you have a concrete kind of a mirrored checklist that you can do, model for your child. And also, as you're reminding your child, reminding yourself, and a child can remind you too. So having that parallel or mirrored routine for your child and yourself will also kind of keep you organized. And with the praise, you may not necessarily give yourself a praise, although that also works. You can just kind of pat yourself on the back. But you can, some of the things that I've done with my friends, things that, I want to make sure that there is more of that organization or step by step. I created with my two other friends a system of things that I need to do, for me, it was, getting healthy and eating. So I had like a Google document where we kept each other accountable, put our data in. If we didn't, then we would encourage each other. And so having that kind of accountability with other adults to make sure that you're meeting those check marks, keeping yourself organized, and you can do that with other routines. That's another way for you to make sure that there is an external structure. So you're not always relying on your own motivation to do something.
I also think that, like, for me, I have really strong executive function skills. I just am very type A, and all of this comes very naturally to me. So I think I just do things naturally, where my husband has to be very much more intentional, even though the strategies are the same. So it is obvious to me that if I'm going to make some returns, I need to put the things that I'm returning by the door, like Wanda suggested. That doesn't come naturally to him. And so he may need more prompts or things like that. But the strategies are the same. I'm not doing anything different. It's just learning what those strategies are. They may not just come natural to you. So I think it's figuring out where your underdeveloped skills are, and then figuring out what strategies really support that, and then being intentional about putting them in place. Where for me, I don't have to go through that thought process. It just clicks right away. Where for my husband, he has to really think, okay, how am I going to remember to bring these things that need to be returned? I'm going to have to put them here. Let me go do that. It's taking that time and being really intentional.
For
And have a
me,
system. Sorry, go ahead, Wanda.
no, I was gonna say for me, as an adult, just being mindful of my time is a stickler for me. So I have to make sure like I'll set my timer several times throughout the day to say I have this much time to do this much work. And then when the timer goes off, I need to move on. Because if I don't, I have a tendency to run over. So just managing my time is a part that I struggle with. So that's what I use. I use my phone as my timer, and I also I know you guys as well, I use my calendar and make sure I have alerts of when different things need to be done. So I just use technology to kind of help me benefit managing my time.
And the highest level of prompts or reminders, depending on things that you struggle with the most, is visual, and you can also do auditory reminders. So, for example, you could put a checklist by the door. Did you do X, Y, and Z? Or I have different timers throughout the day that will remind me to check something, or have a running post-it of things that you need to do. On my computer, I have just a like a electronic post-it on my desktop, and I just type in, and there's no rhyme or reason. It's my brain dump, and as I finish it, I just kind of delete it. So having something that's easy, that's doable. Like if you're not an Ashley level of executive functioning, try not to have that level of organization on the first go, but do something that's easy for you, like a one sheet that's like a brain dump, but something that's manageable. Visual is a very powerful way to get yourself regulated. And
I also think it's huge that when you're doing this, include your child. sit down and say, I know this is something I really struggle with. I'm going to put a checklist on the door of the things I need to remember before I go, because I know otherwise I'm going to forget. Or I know I have time blindness. I don't know how long 5 minutes are. I can only work on this for 5 minutes. I'm going to set a timer so I know I won't be late for this. Using that think out loud, well, even if it's something that they don't necessarily struggle with, just hearing your thought process and hearing how you're doing your own strategies will help them internalize some of those skills as well. So it's even, even if you don't have those deficits and those underdeveloped skills, and you still be that intentional, but especially if you do have those underdeveloped skills and you're putting these things in place now, what an opportunity to do this with your child.
Thank you. And we have more questions coming up. My second grader struggles with the confidence to try. I have been reading Stuart Ablon that not only punishment, but also external rewards are ineffective, motivating, and reinforcement. I think the games are a good fit to generally encourage her, but I am wondering if you have other tips for deciding when to push or how to convey the importance of participating, practicing those skills, especially for a kid who isn't interested in competing or proving her worth.
Sorry, I'm just taking a minute to reread the question again.
I can start a little bit. The participant says punishment's not effective, but neither are external rewards. So the studies show that the long-term motivation may not be as effective with external rewards, but actually learning skills, external rewards can be very effective. So it has to be something that is motivating enough or high enough of a want for a student or a child. But in terms of learning a new skill, the external rewards, especially for younger children where it is more tangible and concrete, it is helpful for them to be able to conceptualize the cause and effect of their behaviors or their skills. And so I think doing away with punishment altogether, sure, if you're able to do that, but doing away with external rewards as a way to reinforce, I think may not be not as effective in gaining those, especially those skills when you're adopting it, or when you're initially learning those skills. So with that said, does that mean that we have to use reinforcers or external rewards for everything that they do? Absolutely not. But an external reward doesn't necessarily mean giving them a toy. It can be a sticker on a chart. It can be a praise. So all those ways are very effective. And praise doesn't, again, mean good job, but being like, I see that you did X, Y, and Z. I wonder if you could do this next time. Or you can just say, I saw that you really improved from last time. Those are all external rewards, and they are highly effective.
I also think the games, yes, would be a really good opportunity for her to practice some of these skills. But I also don't know if she's ready to really. I'm thinking about how to convey the importance of practicing these skills. I don't know if children really recognize the importance of these skills long term. I think similar to what Sue's saying, without that external reward right now, right? For that, or the kind of having that understanding of what's in it for me, and for them, it's not that I will be able to do this as an adult. It's what's in it for me in the immediate. So I think having that is there. And for someone who's not interested in competing or proving her worth, I think that all children are different and personalities come into play. So I would just continue to really focus in on really organic ways to practice those skills rather than that direct and intentional, because those might be too difficult for her and kind of create a little bit of a power struggle, get into some of that perseverance. But if you can take those kind of organic ways, the thinking out loud, the playing games, and all those opportunities for her to practice those skills in different ways, you may be able to start honing in on some of those without her even knowing it.
And in terms of struggle to confidence to try, just providing as many low risk or low risk way to for failure or consequence in a small and big ways could help her with this confidence to try new things. And it could be as simple as trying a new food that that they like, but having them exposed to small low risk activities will encourage that more.
Thanks, Sue. And I know Claire's in answering some questions, but I also wanted to talk some of them through out loud. So are you able to include executive functions into an IEP? Should they only be school-related goals? School is really only going to target things that they can focus on in school, but obviously things like cognitive flexibility is something that kind of goes both home and school. But yes, the school would only target specific goals related to how those executive functions are part of the school day, and they absolutely can be part of an IEP goal if the school has the documentation that it is an underdeveloped skill for them. And then are there, what criteria would indicate a need to seek diagnosis or an IEP? As Claire said, I would defer to your student's classroom teacher at school as well as the school supports to answer that student-directed question, because it's hard to really know depending on what's going on. The school psychologist can also be able to talk more about kind of seeking diagnoses. Are there any autism-related tips that have been helpful similar to the ADHD feedback given? I would say the same skills and the same strategies, the same kind of direct approach. You may need to be a little bit more heavy on some of the visuals and a little bit more on that direct approach side of things than maybe the more kind of throughout the day, think out loud. You may need to be a little bit more targeted, but I would say that the steps would still kind of help you develop those executive function skills. I don't know if anyone else wants to share more about how to develop those skills with someone who has autism. Okay. And then we have I like this one, so, because I feel like I can connect. My 6-year-old can drink his cup of milk in 2 minutes, but most days he will take forever. I counted 117 steps one time. It's the same with cleaning room, getting ready. Some days he's fast, but most other days the clock's ticking and he's slowly putting pants on. If I help, then it's expected every day. So how do you encourage your child when you know he can do it, but he chooses not to? I think Claire automatically shared exactly what I was thinking. Many times providing timers, that's kind of where my head went. Schedules for the child to understand when the expectations are set can help them follow through, as well as rewards. That first then language. First you put on your pants, then you get can help as well. I don't know if anyone else has any ideas, but
I was
timers.
just to piggyback on that, I was thinking, like you could take a picture of your child doing the thing so they can see, like, if you instead of using first then, you could use pictures so that they can see what they need to do and tie it to a timer, like Claire said.
Or even like a competition between you and your child, right? Like, I bet you I can do this faster than you. Where is that kind of like that motivation? Where do you get him to get the motivation to go faster? Not so much you helping him, but how are you getting him? What kind of external thing can you get to get him up and moving and ready to drink that milk faster?
Okay, we still have some time to get more questions. And please go ahead, Ashley, if you would like to add something. Please do.
I was just looking at that one that just came in for the rewards discussion. I frequently talk with my child about earning more independence. Once you show me you can do this, I'll be more comfortable with you doing ABC. So we walk down the street to a friend's house, playing with slime without my supervision. Those are great examples. This is definitely a great strategy. I think depending on the age, kids are definitely starting to look for that independence. That's a really great way to connect it. When I see that you can clean up your room by yourself, then I know you will be ready for
Okay, I still encourage you, if you have more questions, to put them in the Q&A, and we have shared with you in the chat a link to evaluate the webinar. Please take a few moments to evaluate our webinar, and next week we'll be sharing with all of you the presentation slides and also the recording link for the webinar. And if you would like to check any library materials or to get some more resources about a specific group of age, or even to get more to know, we have a lot of information and resources with the FRC. Please check our website and also communicate with us via email or over the phone. We'll be happy to give you all the resources that are available at the FRC. It seems like we don't have more questions to answer for today. So thank you so much for the wonderful presentation and all the valuable information. And thank you all for attending. Please keep in touch with us. And I'm going to share with you also the registration links for the upcoming webinars, so you can build up your knowledge for, older students in older, for other grade levels. Please check our website and let us know if you have questions. And thank you so much and have a nice weekend.
Yes, thank you so much, Amal. We appreciate the collaboration and the opportunity to come through and